give me the books, give me the podcasts, the blogs, the YouTubes, whatever. I want all of it. And that's great. Yet I've really come to understand and accept that the really foundational, transformational lessons in my life, I didn't necessarily want to learn. And I didn't really realize I was in the classroom at the time. Hey there. Are you a Christian woman who's ready to strengthen your faith and stop the madness in your mind? The worry, doubt, anxiety. Do you want something more for your life but are not sure where to even begin? You've come to the right place. Hi, I'm Kristin Campbell. I'm excited that you're here as we journey together to discover mindset renewal and empowered faith for the Christian woman. Hey everyone, so glad that you're joining me today as I share a little bit about what I'm learning at the moment. And, you know, as a teacher, oftentimes I have to learn the lessons first before I can really share them with other people. So I do a lot of learning, which is okay because I love learning. I'm kind of on like this constant quest. I don't think we ever stop learning. There's, always something out there for us to learn and to grow from. So I do love learning. But, I love learning what I love learning. So the subjects and the topics that I choose and enjoy, I am all in. Give me the books, give me the podcasts, the blogs, the YouTubes, whatever. I want all of it. And that's great. Yet I've really come to understand and accept that the really foundational, transformational lessons in my life, I didn't necessarily want to learn. And I didn't really realize I was in the classroom at the time, if you know what I mean. So this has really been a struggle, kind of a tug of war that the Lord and I have gone through for quite a while. I want to focus on what I think is important to know and to learn. And a lot of times God would be leading me in a different direction. And I would just dig my heels in and just go my way. And I want to let you know, God is so kind and he's so long-suffering. And he will allow us choice, and that's just part of his love. It's part of his nature. True love allows for choice. Yet every time, like every single time, whether it was with, my struggles and my wanting to learn about eating or nutrition, losing weight, the fitness journey that I've been on, or my academic choices or parenting, like whatever it was, every single time that I remember digging in my heels later on, and sometimes it was years later, I would go, oh man, I wish I had learned that at the time. I had the resources. I had, the really, whether it was the books or the programs, I had it in my hands. And man, it would have been so helpful now. I would have been so much further along now. And it really opened the door for some intrusive thoughts for the enemy to just really come in about, condemning me about the mistakes I've made and my wrong choices and how I screwed up and I was such a failure and what a loss and all, all that junk. But the Lord never said that to me. And again, just in his kindness and in his love, it was more of this, okay, are you ready now? Because I can still teach you. We can still turn this around. Are you ready now? And it really is just been this journey where I've had to trust. I've had to enter this deeper level of trust with the Lord and surrendering. And it's really humbling because I really have to lay aside my pride, basically, my knowledge and understanding of, what's best, and really walk in this new level of faith, which is really hard. Because for so long I've had this belief and come into this agreement like, well, it's my body, they're my kids. It's my job. I'm a strong, independent woman. I got this. And all of those things that once fueled my decisions and led my journey, now they're becoming red flags for me. They're actually signaling that something may not be in alignment here. Because when I think about it, it's no longer I who lives, right? It's Christ who lives within me. My body really is a temple for the Holy Spirit. My children, they belong to the Lord. I'm a caregiver, but I don't own them. When I think about my career, quote unquote, it's really God's purpose. It's his plan for my life. It's a predestiny that he's given me. And any of my plans, when I really step back and humble myself, any of my plans, they're not going to come to any fruition or have any success if they're not in alignment with the Lord. So I'm learning as I go that if the Lord wants me to go in one direction and I'm feeling that digging in my heels and I'm feeling that struggle, that it really is best to let go, to trust, even if I don't understand it, even if it doesn't look like how I think it should be, especially if it's to wait. And man, this is a whole nother lesson when we talk about waiting on the Lord. We have such a hard time waiting. We live in this world of instant right now. Everything is so instant. And so we just, I think, naturally expect that God is going to work at that same speed and time level, and it's just not so. I have plenty of stories of how rushing has gotten me into places I didn't want to be, and it got me there fast. So again, this waiting is like, it's a struggle, but it comes down again to that trust in the Lord, that trust in his goodness, that trust in his plan. And ultimately, it brings me to a place of contentment. I feel like there's a lot of different learnings in here, but this I think is the big one, is getting to a place of contentment. Because if you just kind of look around, and I talk to friends, and a lot of the conversations are in some way comparing to other people, either good or bad, or complaining on some level. Even if we're not intentionally doing it, it does come out because there's just this underlying discontent that we're living with, whether, we're arguing with a spouse, or it's something to do with our job or our children, or we feel like we should be somewhere in life that we're not yet, or, it's not fair, the cards we were dealt, just all of these things just brings this underlying discontent. And that's hard to reconcile with because there's no peace if there's no contentment. And you can only be content when you're really trusting in the Lord's goodness. And that trust in the Lord's goodness means everything that's coming through his hands, because everything that comes into our life has to pass through his hands, that there's a reason and there's an element of good because he is good and he is allowing it. And whether we understand it or not to submit to it is better than to struggle against it. And this is a lesson that I'm learning, and I will be learning, and I'll be sharing and teaching along the way of just how do we get to that level of contentment where it's not based on the circumstances. In Philippians, Paul is talking about how he has learned to be content, and he was writing this letter when he was in prison, like in a nasty dungeon. So how do we get there? How do we get to that place where we can learn to be content? And it really foundationally comes back to, are we trusting the Lord's goodness with what he is allowing to come into our life? Trusting that he has a bigger plan, trusting that his love for us is unconditional, trusting that in some way it's going to work together for our good and for his glory, and that there is a benefit to it, and just trusting that he knows and we don't. And, even right now, my family's facing some challenges. It's nothing earth-shattering, but we have some major decisions that we need to make really within the next year. Like something major has to change or shift probably by next summer. And I'm not sure what that thing is exactly. I started down the road of all those possibilities and, if I do this or if I do that, or if we do this or if we move here, we switch this. And, none of the solutions I came up with were great. None are really even feasible. And I recognized what I was doing, that I was trying to control, that I was trying to plan according to, what I wanted, what I think would be, success or good. But it's based on my limited knowledge. It's based on my limited perspective. And, I don't know. I don't know what's good and what's not. I don't know what the answer is, but God knows. And so here's a chance for me to exercise what I've learned, to trust the Lord's goodness, that whatever comes out, however the situation is figured out, that it's going to be good, that it's going to be God, because I'm submitting to him and I'm submitting my plan to him. I'm surrendering to him. I'm staying open to his leading. Even if his leading doesn't make sense, I want to stay open to it and I want to follow him, just trusting that he knows, that his promise is that the plans he has for me are good. They're to give me a hope and a future. And he's faithful to his word. He's not a man that he shall lie. He is worthy of my trust. So in that, I have contentment. I'm happy. I'm content with not only where we are, but I have a real hope and a joy in what's to come. And that, it's born out of this heart, out of this level of trust that I will constantly be learning how to develop and how to strengthen. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. I hope you walked away a little stronger in your faith and freer in your mind. You are so loved. If you like this episode, share it with a friend. Leave your ratings and reviews, and engage with me on social media. I'd love to hear from you.